वेलकम टू मेन स्ट्रीम विद हरप्रीत सिंह तूर। आप सब ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰ, ਆਦਾਬ and shalom. First of all, I would like to thank the gentleman. I'm not going to mention the name, but I definitely appreciate that he did send me an email about something, but yes, it was well taken, and I will definitely try to follow that. And like I always say, get in touch, send me an email, hstour@gmail.com, if you have any questions or anything. And let us start the show with the breaking news. Kevin McCarthy is not the Speaker of the House anymore. I'm going to talk about few things today. I wanted to talk actually last week about 1965 Pakistan war, India-Pakistan war, but I did not because there were other things which were more important to be discussed at that time. Yes, it was a historical war, no doubt about it. It was historical from many perspectives, not just from one angle, but more than one perspective. And it was more historical for Punjab and Punjabis on the so-called East Punjab. At that time, Haryana was not even the state, it was Punjab, and Haryana was one single Punjab at that time. And the reason I'm mentioning it is I want you to look at it from that perspective and understand it. You know, when the people who are born after 1971 and especially after 1980s, they have seen some of the happenings in the current Punjab, which is the Eastern Punjab minus Haryana from the Punjab which I just mentioned. And what happened in 80s and 90s over there, they have their own perspective. Even the people who lived in Punjab and who lived in the cities, they have different perspective on the happenings in Punjab than the people who lived in the villages. Okay. The question comes in why I'm talking about it. Once I go through certain things before the end of the show, you will realize that the pieces are coming together and trying to make some sense. And I'm talking about what I'm talking about today is you also have to keep in mind that next Lok Sabha election is in 2024, and right now BJP on one side and the group of the opposition parties with acronym India are on the other side. Yeah, BJP is a majority, a substantial majority, and now they are saying, oh, they are a group of bunch of people, they are getting together just to, grab the power, blah, 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 blah. The shoe was on the other side a couple of years back, before Modi, the current Prime Minister, came on the stage. So, let me start from 1965 war a little bit, and then we will progressively talk about the situation and how it affects the people in the United States in general and the pockets of population like in New York area, Chicago, New Jersey, California. Now we have substantial population in Texas also. Even though we have other pockets, Indiana, where we have the population of Indian diaspora, but how it affects, and I'm going to put that, I'm not going to give it a twist, but I am going to put up the facts the way I look at it, the way I understand it. When 1965 war broke out, at that time the odds of war being won by Pakistan was substantially high as compared to India. Pakistan's economy was better compared to Indian economy. US had the full support to Pakistan, and on India we had Russian support, no doubt about it, but not to the extent like the the U.S. to Pakistan. And those people who of my age or older than me, they definitely would remember certain things. The patent tank at that time was the big deal, and it was literally destroyed by Indian Army in that 1965 war, and it got destroyed with the help of some technology and some help from Russia. So, this is important to look at all this, because current relations of between India and Russia, why those relations matter. Now, when the war was, it was clear that okay, the war is going to happen and is going to go full fledged. And also remember, at 1965 there was no Bangladesh. It was East Pakistan and it was West Pakistan. And I would also like to add here that my dad was in Indian Army at that time. My dad fought 1962 war, 1965 and 1972. Okay? I mean 1971. So, my angle definitely is from that perspective, where my dad was in army, he was in the front line, and we had no idea where he is, what condition he is, whether he is alive or dead, we had no idea. We did not know till he came home after the war. Now, the question comes in, what I want to talk here about the 1965 war's importance as related to that. The Chief of Army Staff at that time ordered the Chief of Western Command, who was Lieutenant General Harpreet, to pull back first up to Satluj, the Satluj Darya, which is next to Ludhiana, and if still the Pakistan pushes still more, then move even back up to Ambala, which is right Kagar. Now, just imagine, just look at that. Even though at that time Punjab was one, Haryana and Punjab. So, literally what it meant was that the whole current Punjab is something which, if we lose, that will be okay, that will be acceptable in army terminology. And this is all history. I am not making up the things. I am going to share some of the things which I have seen at that war, and that is the reason I am talking here. And probably I will talk every year at this time of 1965 war and in December about 1971 war, because it is very important for the people who live in rest of India, who are not either on the western front or who were not at the eastern front where Bangladesh is now, because for them to understand what it is, it's different. Their take is totally different. Okay. So, at that time Lieutenant General Harpreet, he was, when he was told about these steps, he requested the whole information in writing. He did not want to take the wireless orders or anything, he wanted this thing in writing. Okay. While those writings were still to come, he called on the front lines the officers, the Sikh officers who were controlling the commands on the front line at that time. And he told them bluntly that we don't have Nankana Sahib, we don't have Lahore, we don't have more than 50, close to 50% of our history. We lost 60% of Punjab earlier at partition to Pakistan. And if we move back, we are going to lose Amritsar, we are going to lose Anandpur Sahib, we are going to lose everything which matters to us on this side of the world. Yeah, there are other historical places, other places where our gurus went. You know, Guru Nanak Dev Ji traveled throughout India. Guru Gobind Singh Ji traveled quite a lot. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji also traveled a lot. All the gurus basically traveled except few of them. So he asked them that either we fight and die fighting to preserve, or if you are not willing to do it right now, let me know, because I am going to fight to my last blood. And also at that time, Captain Amrinder Singh was his advisor at that time. Captain Amrinder Singh actually had retired, but came back to join the army because of there are some rules that if there is something going on, something going to happen, those people who recently retired, they are called back. And that is why when I said at the beginning of the show, there are things which I am going to talk from my perspective. The reason is because I have seen some of the officers and the other ranks being called back at the beginning of the war, especially the 1971, which I remember very clearly, and coming back in body bags, being returned to their families in the body bags. So those people who beat their chest, oh, India is great, India, they need to understand how India reached where India is. If somebody tells me it is just because of the current BJP government, good luck to them, because they have no idea about what was going on, what was happening in 1947. Nobody was happy. We were not happy what happened in 1947. I am not saying that. Nobody was happy about it, but 1947 did happen. We cannot go back. My mom always used to say कि पुत्त मत्थे दे टाइम दे मत्थे ते बुद्धि हुंदी आ. So grab it, which means the time you can grab at that time or before it arrives. Once it is past, it is past. I started the show at 6 o'clock. It's 12 minutes past. Can I go back to 6 o'clock? No, I can't. So that's what I mean. So those people, everybody, including those who are about my generation and who are not aware of these things, they also need to understand that how important it is to look at the things in proper perspective. Everything is being characterized into compartments without any attachment or without any connection, and that is where we are losing everything. I was in my village in Harpreet, and like they say, you know, as the crow flies, my village is about 7 miles from Shivalik Mountains. And so it was dark, and all of a sudden we heard the, you know, these planes flying real low. And even before we went to the top of the roof, we saw the Adampur airport being bombarded by these planes. And we also saw AK guns in action at that time from our roof of the top of the roof of our house. And for those people who don't know what AK gun is, which again, that's where I said that the rest of India doesn't know a lot of things, and even young generation probably won't know what AK gun is. It is anti-aircraft, AAC, anti-aircraft guns. So we saw that. And because Adampur was very close by, about same distance on the other side from our village, so even before the sun rose, you know, my grandfather, he already had the people coming and telling him about, you know, that how the Adampur airport runway is damaged, how the planes are damaged, and all that, I'm not saying whatever he was told that was 100% correct, but we knew that there was a substantial damage done to the airstrip, okay, which was fixed within a day or two. And I don't remember whether it was the third day of the war or the fifth day of the war, but all of a sudden we saw a fireball in the sky. That was the first kill of Pakistan aircraft by the Indian Air Force, whether it was shot down by a missile or by those AK guns or whatever happened. But I clearly remember that how that plane came down in flames and the pilot ejected, which itself is a very interesting story, but today's I don't have that much time. And he actually landed safely. He hid himself in the sugarcane farms for a couple of days, but after some couple of days he has to come out because he was hungry, thirsty and everything. And the first thing after he came out, he met the farmer at that point. And the farmer actually, was gracious enough, took him to the police station where he was properly fed, and the farmer also took care of him properly. So, those images of the war, they were permanently etched in the memories of the people of that time. There was a village, Karisari, where the bomb fell. At that time, it was a known fact that because right now we have technology and everything, excuse me, that the aircraft pilots, they will be given some sort of signal with a light for the areas to be targeted with the bomb. And in Karisari, what happened was this family, who had the buffaloes, one of the buffalo gave birth to the calf at that time in the midnight. And they had this kerosene lamp, even though they did shut down the door, but those doors, wooden doors, they had these cracks in the door, and the light was going out, and that became a target. Yeah, a couple of people died in that, and a lot of people actually went to see that the crater which was created by that bomb. I didn't. So, I am not going to claim that I did. No, I did not. But yes, our grandfather, every time we will hear the aircrafts approaching to attack Adampur airport, we will run to the top of the roof of the house, and our grandfather will be yelling at us to get into the trenches which were dug to be safe, and they were dug under a pipal tree and a sreen tree. Those people from Punjab, they would understand what pipal is and what sreen is. In rest of India, they may have different words for that, and Hindi they may have different names. I think to the people they call people, not the people, but people as the tree. So, it was a war which was fought, and what happened was Lieutenant General Harpreet opened up another front in the north, which the Pakistan probably never expected. And with that front, the pressure on the western front from Lahore to Amritsar, that reduced, and Indian Army was able to move into Pakistan, and Pakistan actually had to break there is one of the canal which is the feeder for the farms, Ichogil. They had to break that canal to flood the fields so that the tanks, they cannot actually move forward, and they got stuck in that mud in those fields, and the movement definitely got really slowed down. And there are a couple of people who actually were living, and they are still living in Indian side, either in Punjab or Delhi, and they actually went to see their ancestral villages which were captured, even though they were later on returned after the ceasefire, whatever the agreement was signed in that agreement. So, we have to look the progress of India from that perspective, losing to China in 1962 miserably, because again, the people who are sitting in New Delhi, or the people who sit behind the desks, they have their own view of the world than the people who are out in the field. So, at that time, the policy was to feed the hungry people, because there was not enough food, and US was one of the biggest supplier of the wheat to India at that time, before we saw the Green Revolution. And with the Green Revolution, when we saw the self-sufficiency of food in India for the first time, I think it was in 1972 when Mrs. Indira Gandhi declared that we are self-sufficient in food, and we do not have to import any more food. Even though I personally at that time did not agree 100% with it, because if you do not have the power to buy the food, the buying power, then you are still eating only one meal in a day. Yes, there was a meal on the table, but it was only one meal, not the 3 meals, which is customary that you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, we have to look at from that perspective that before the 1962 China war, there was not much investment into the army. With the limited resources, that has to be done. That changes how, what is to prioritize, where to put up, even to set up the industrial complexes. It was a big fight within the states. The reason was the border states, Punjab was one of them, did not get a single big industry, because it was always like, oh, like in 1965 they were willing to lose the Punjab, so why would they invest and put money in there? Because a businessman is not going to spend money where he has the more chance of losing everything. So, it has to be the government which has to make the investment, or supported by the government, directly or indirectly. So, we have to look at those perspectives, those angles. And also, before we go for the break, in 1962 war, India probably would have lost even more than what it did, had it not been that the US came to support India at that time. The Kennedy supported India, and there were conversations at that time even to use a nuclear bomb in certain parts of China to kill the advance of Chinese army, which was actually ruled out by the then President of United States, Kennedy. So, these are the historical facts which one needs to dig out and see, and then talk about what they are talking about. The current Prime Minister Modi, I haven't seen during my lifetime period that any Prime Minister has gone to the state's elections rallies so often as the current Prime Minister has, and when the elections are lost, they are blamed on the minorities, one way or the other, depending on which state the election is lost and which party is in minority over there. So, right now let us take a proper view of the possibilities, the probabilities, if not possibilities, the probabilities. Okay. The farmers movement, it was basically not a good experience for the Prime Minister, because he pushed through those 3 laws, and then he was forced by the peaceful protest by the farmers. And I will talk here why I am saying it peaceful, because yes, there were issues, more than 700 farmers also died in that, but I will put that thing in proper perspective so that the viewers, they can understand what I am trying to tell here before I make the next statement. So, for the farmers, it was important to have those laws reversed. They were looking at it from their angle. I did not study the laws completely, but I definitely agree that there were some benefits to the farmers in that. May not be 100%, but there were definitely some benefits to the farmers. But at the same time, there were also downside for the farmers as well as the middlemen. That was the first moment where in Punjab, the non-Sikhs actually supported the Sikh farmers. That was also after a long time that the farmers from Haryana also supported that agitation. The farmers from UP also supported that agitation, and they came in. Probably that agitation would have fickled out had it not been the full-fledged support from the other states, or the Punjab farmers definitely would have had to fight a much longer time period that fight. The BJP government at that time tried to label the movement as one of those extreme elements. They are trying to disrupt whatever the reasons are, and they were using the social media and everything to the hilt. But there were few interesting things which were happening actually at the ground. One was the police force, which actually used the water cannons on the farmers so that they can stop them from proceeding. The farmers, when it came time for dinner, offered them to eat with them. They were like, we know you are doing your job, you must be hungry, we are going to eat, so come and sit down and eat. Then there was a time when the government tried to penetrate the movement with the hooligans, having their own hired goons to go and disrupt by doing whatever the means are possible to make it like a ragtag people who got together there to achieve something which they don't understand. And yes, there was a Sikh, they call themselves intellectuals. There was one Sikh intellectual who did say, oh, these Punjabis, the people who drink the buffalo milk, they have the fat minds and they don't understand anything. That's the exact statement which he made. ਮੱਝਾਂ ਦਾ ਦੁੱਧ ਪੀਣੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਮੋਟੇ ਆ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੈਠ ਸਕਦੀ. That was his wording. Okay. So when these people came in and they tried to do what they were ordered or they got paid to do, once they were in there, when they saw the things from the other side, then they were like, no, this is not right. And they literally, some of them made the statements on the social media that we came here with this purpose, we were sent for this purpose, and we have changed our mind because we see the cause now the way they see it. The people from Delhi, the capital, and New Delhi, for the first time they realized, they were getting all their everything, just go to the shop, pay and get it, that how it is produced, processed, and then comes to their doors or goes to the shops where they can go out and buy. So, those were the factors which actually made the impact. And yes, there were some businessmen also who later on paid a big price for supporting the farmers, and they probably are still paying the price for that. Why? Because, there is one thing I always say, and I am going to repeat here again. It is different when you are trying to win the election, but once you win the election, you should be looking for the whole community, not just one group of community or one part of the community and hang every other part of the community. And again, the BJP, yes, they have the majority of members of parliament, but they have only 37 or 38% of the votes, of all the votes casted in that election. So, it is basically minority is majority ruling India. Same way here in United States, we have when Donald Trump got elected, minority was ruling the majority because Donald Trump got less number of votes than Hillary Clinton got. Al Gore got more votes than George W. Bush got. Bill Clinton was the last president who actually got most popular votes and won the election. After that, any Republican who came, even George Bush, the senior, H.W. Bush, did not get the majority popular votes. So what is happening now? It comes down to what is happening in other countries, overseas countries. I understand all these Khalistanis, I work with them, talking to them, listening to them. It's not that I don't know what they are doing, but I do understand what they are doing. Some of them they are just doing to get the green card, some of them they are doing because this is how they make the money, and some of them they are doing because the government wants this thing to go on. And it is not about only the BJP, even the previous governments, they never wanted sincerely that this should die down. The reason is because if they wanted to this thing to, like they say, to pull the rug from under the feet, then they definitely would have done some justice to those Punjabis who actually took care of Indian side in 1965, in 1971, and they are still doing it. New York Times came out with an article recently that Khalistan movement is a boogeyman which is for India, and that's what it is. Now, till that election is over, Sikhs are going to be the target. My concern is how much it will be expanded. India just expelled more Canadian diplomats, but at the same time, the Honorable Foreign Minister Jaishankar admitted indirectly that okay, if the Canadian government provides us the information, we will definitely look at it. That's a climb down from saying we have nothing to do with it. The people who understand diplomacy, they would know what it means. The people who understand how the countries work, they would understand that. And kicking out the diplomats is actually, yes, it is an escalation, but it is not an escalation to resolve the issue, but it is an escalation to win the election in India. And yes, Canadian Prime Minister also has his election coming up, so he definitely also needs the supports of those Punjabis and the Sikhs who are in Canada. Yes, he does definitely have the support from Jagmeet Singh Barad, who is another head of I think it is NCB or something, that the political outfit, had his own MPs. At one point, everybody was talking about that he may end up being the prime minister at one point. So, that's the basically fundamentally, if you are talking about democracy, then you definitely are talking about the numbers, that how which person can provide the maximum votes and the seats. If you do it in India by going anti-Muslim, anti-Sikhs, anti-Christians, anti-whatever, that Hindus are in danger, where you have about 80% of the population. In Canada, Sikhs have only what, 3 or 4%? You know, so yeah, that's part of democratic elections, that you try to do that. But at the same time, no prime minister will give a statement on the floor of the House, which is not right. Not even Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave a statement in the House where he has absolute majority regarding Manipur issues. He tried to not to give a statement. You see him all over India in different costumes, different styles, different everything, and I'm pretty sure whatever he puts on one day, he does not put it on the second day, and down the road it will go into the museums and it will be probably auctioned off in the name of benefit to the poor and everything, which is basically typical of what happens after the person is gone. So, the facts are that those people who are escalating this thing, instead of trying to resolve, the reason is elections in 2024, plain and simple, and we need to understand that. If US provided Canada some information, which US also admitted, it means what? It means that there definitely is a substantial information about a third party's involvement, and that third party directly or indirectly had the backing from the Indian government. The question is whether the Prime Minister Narendra Modi knew about it or did not know about it. Those are different questions, those are different issues. Because a lot of these government agencies, they do a lot of stuff. You know, we in India, we talk about all the time about all this, these things happening, the terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir every day. But we don't hear anything what is happening into the Pakistan side. If we listen to that, then the Pakistan has its own issue where they blame India in Balochistan and NFW about it. So, all this which we are talking about, everything what we are talking about here right now is we have to look at from that angle. We are about to run out of time, so I'm going to shift the gear to American politics now. But before I close my conversation about this Indian and Canadian going on, both the countries, they need to sit back, they need to put their heads together, their ambassadors, they need to sit down, the representatives from both the countries, they need to sit down and sort out these issues, because right now we have much bigger issues going on in the world from Ukraine-Russia war, and there is a probability we have another developing situation in the Balkans again, Serbia and Kosovo. So, we don't know what will happen over there, but right now that thing is, in next 2 years there are a lot of elections coming up. US election is coming up, Canadian election is coming up, Indian election is coming up, Great Britain, UK election is coming up. So, we have to calm down, calm ourselves, then look at it, and then do it if we really want to benefit the communities who we rule. But if our aim is just to win the elections, then everything is on the table and expect anything. With that note, let us go to the American side now. Like I said, Kevin McCarthy is out as a speaker, and this is the first time in the history of the United States that a sitting speaker has been removed. And who will be next speaker? We don't know yet. There are different calculations and everything. And yeah, even the Democrats did not want Kevin McCarthy to continue as the speaker, because he actually, based on whatever he was doing, Democrats just could not trust him, because he was trying to appease extreme elements. That actually takes me back to what I was talking for the last 3 parts of the show. Whenever you will try to appease the extreme elements, they will always demand more out of what you have. So there is a line which you have to draw, and if you draw that line and stick to the line, the good things will come out. But for the good things to come out, you have to wait. Now, Kevin McCarthy is out, and Gates, who actually initiated the process, he is actually hand in glove with Donald Kaplan. He has his own scandal going on where the minor girls were transported over the border from one state to another state, for the purposes of, for the sex. And so that's another thing. And also, in the meantime, we don't have any clear person who can challenge the Trump right now. Trump has his own legal issues. He just came out of the court this morning, and he blasted the staff, the judge, and everybody, and judge immediately put up the gag order on him. And some of the postings which he did on social media, which is his own Twitter style, it was removed because of the gag orders. And Mark Milley, the chief of the armed forces of the United States, who was appointed by Donald Trump, when he said he must be hanged for treason, the people who followed Trump, those bhagats of Donald, they immediately were after his life. So we also have to understand this thing, that when you talk about from where you stand, you should know what you are talking about. That actually takes me back to a statement where, I don't know the Indian Constitution, but there was something about where Rahul Gandhi said something about the Modis being, all the Modis being thief. Somebody lodged a complaint. He lost his case, which was in Gujarat, even though now it is in the Supreme Court. What would happen, I don't know. Which was not nice. He should not have said it. But on the other hand, we have Prime Minister Modi, who actually gave a statement on the floor of the parliament, saying that only Prime Minister who knows how to take shower with the raincoat on is the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And when in 2017, 2018, India was about to go into recession, Prime Minister Modi reached out to him for advice. These are the facts. So again, we need to understand that, yes, freedom of speech is very important, but it comes with some responsibilities. Those responsibilities include the choice of the words which you use to talk, not about that whatever comes to your mind, just spit it out. I am not expecting everybody to be a good orator, good writer. I know that I am not a good writer, I know that. but I definitely also know at the that at least I know how to address the other people and where to draw the line. I try to understand that. So, freedom of speech is something which should not be compromised just because we have 1 or 2 or maybe 5 idiots. Even if we have 1%, 99% actually deserve better than the 1%. Because of those 1%, we cannot take away the right of the 99% people. Same way, if the freedom of speech is important, the respect is also important. And we also need to understand that elections have the consequences. Remember that. So, we should be aware of that, that those consequences are the consequences which our children and their children and their children, they will pay for that. With that note, till next time, good night and good luck.